Hello everyone and welcome to something a bit different. As I finally sat down with a couple of friends and watched the Biohazard Voice of Gaia musical in its entirety. So about 2.5 hours, give or take. My review won't be long or even that accurate since the DVD I have doesn't have any subtitles, meaning most of the plot I could follow was what we tried to come up with or figure out while watching and what one of us was reading from online plot summaries that really only covered the main plot points, if that. I also talked to a guy on Resident Evil Wiki's Discord channel who understood Russian and had seen the thing with Russian subtitles. So I'll be adding plot stuff there I found out just like now. So, with that in mind, here's a review by a guy who had no idea what was going on for most of the time. Oh, and I will be spoiling the entire plot of the thing just to give context and not to sound like a raving lunatic. Because, trust me, this is about to get weird. The musical opens up to a battle scene that turns out to be a flashback to an event during which our tragic heroine, US agent Lisa Martin, lost her memories. We're not supposed to get this yet, as it was meant to be a big plot twist, though having no clue what was going on for most of the time, I only found out about this after watching the musical. Zombies do some kind of an interpretive dance number, and we are met with a scene of the old Croatian town this musical takes place in, Dubrovnik. Our main cast is quickly introduced as two surviving members of a scouting team return to town, Lovro and Marco. They are met at the gates by our hero Lisa Martin, Bernard Chavez, an old guy I kept calling the village elder, Dilma Chavez, Bernard's young son. Wait, that's a boy? I honestly thought the entire time that was a girl, but apparently it's a boy. And this comes from the Russian subtitles, uh, but the information online is kind of conflictive on this matter, so we'll just call him Son for now. I honestly don't know. What are you? And then there's Zelk, who at this point says nothing but is the best character, and Dan Gibson, a doctor trying to create a cure for the virus. There's an underlying love triangle where Marco is in love with Lisa, who in turn has the hots for Dr. Dan. None of this matters though, as Marco is killed off instantly. It turns out he was bitten, turns into a zombie, and gets shot in the face by Bernard as the townspeople watch in horror. Well, at least Lovro is alive and supposedly tells the main cast that they found information about a girl on a nearby island who is immune to the virus plaguing the surrounding area. A search party is gathered up by Dr. Dan. There is a short scene with Dilma and his father where I'm pretty sure they argued about Dilma wanting to go with them. Surprisingly, he does not go, as Dan's team is comprised of him, Lovro, and Zerg. Roberto, who is the next best character with his silly outfit, shows them a wind chime. Remember this, it'll be important. At this point, it's made clear that Zerg is an optimistic, happy-go-lucky guy with a funny hat. Dan also gets one, but he and his dead eyes and bushy eyebrows don't deserve it. Seriously, the dude's eyes freaked me the fuck out. They get 3 brand spanking new bicycles. Don't ask how they are gonna help getting onto an island, or how they even get them. And go on their way as Roberto creates a rather catchy musical number with the townspeople to lure the zombies away from the party. The zombies dance too, don't worry. Then they attacked! Holy shit! Came through the damn gate and everything! The townspeople managed to drive them back, but Dilma was bitten in the chaos. Bernard is sad, and so are the others. We are even shown a shot of our search party, who also look miserable. Shit! Sad Zelg is the most saddest thing I have ever seen in my life. Never make Zelg sad again, or I will have your head. Cue part 2 of the musical. The guys have been away for way too long, and Lisa goes after them, being the hero she is. Bernard also follows, but they are quickly ambushed by the US military. Lisa sees.
Marco!
She even calls him by his name! Wait, didn't he die just like less than an hour ago? Well, let's carry on and see where this goes. Oh shit! Dilma also tagged along. I should have known. Damn rapscallion. They are all taken on board the USS Wyoming, which Lisa had called for help before she lost her memories. Zulk and Lovro have been captured, and turns out Dr. Dan had pretended to be the terrorist who spread the virus in the area and lied about having the virus with him in order to get the military people to give him a ride on a plane to their original destination, or else he would have spread the virus on the ship. So, you know, the basic convoluted Resident Evil story time. Still, he did leave Lovro and Zelk behind, which was a shitty move. Lisa is told about her original mission by the ship's captain, Maurice Green. Her original mission having been to kill Dr. Dan and bring his research to the US government. Jesus! I don't think the US has ever been this evil in the series before. Like, ever. Must be Trump. Oh, and not Marco is there too. Turns out he's Lieutenant Scott, who is a totally different character, just played by the same guy. So, yeah, that plot point went nowhere. Right about here-ish, we are treated to a trippy fever dream that I honestly have no idea about, and neither did the guy who actually had the subtitles. So, this series has been weird before, but man, this totally takes the cake. Oh, but it gets weirder. So, Dr. Dan is looking as creepy and dead-eyed as ever. A female zombie who has been appearing every now and then in front of the hordes dances around, and Lisa has a dress? Then they dance like hell! It was pretty and all, but still, no idea. I guess it was like a metaphor for Lisa's mission conflicting with her feelings or something. Speaking of Lisa, she has changed her attire like 4 times by now since the beginning. No idea where she keeps getting that stuff in this apocalyptic setting. Probably from the same place where the bikes came from. Then a drunken researcher named Joe comes to the scene on the ship. Yes, we're back there now. And says something about this virus being related to how dinosaurs died. What? So, yeah, well, at least the cure is not that far away, since whales are immune to the virus and a vaccine can be made using their blood. Double what? Well, a good thing, since Dan has landed and found the immune girl that sprung all this into motion. Dead. Huh. I guess immunity doesn't really help when you're being eaten alive. Back on the ship, a battle ensues with the whales. But Lisa manages to persuade the soldiers to stop attacking them with torpedoes? And to soothe them by singing? Yeah, I told you, this was getting way out of hand. Well, the soldiers get on the deck, sing a Mighty Sailor song, and Lisa goes to get a blood sample to make a cure from the now docile whales. Dan was attacked by zombies at some point, got infected, and used an experimental vaccine on himself that he had made, and passed out. Or something to that extent, I'm not entirely sure. Lisa gets back on the ship with the blood. They create a vaccine and save Dilma. They get back to land where Lisa, Bernard, and Lovro, along with some of the US soldiers, including Scott the Not Marco. Bernard is dragged away by zombies, Scott gets killed by zombies and in turn bites Lovro, who is then shot by Lisa despite having the goddamn vaccine! Lisa then finds Dr. Dan and proceeds to stick 3 freaking antivirus needles into him! Because fuck Lovro, I guess. Dan wakes up, but they are surrounded by a shitload of zombies, making the victory short-lived. Sweet Chekhov's gun, Batman! Zulk appears with Roberto and a bunch of wind chimes that make the zombies docile, as they have found out certain sound waves do that. Nifty. We then end with a big song and dance number to the theme song, Voice of Gaia, and everyone except Lovro and the two Marcos are happy. The end. Wait, what about the zombie problem? Let the military take care of it, I guess. As you could probably gather, the musical was off the wall insane. However, it had some actually good music, and the dance numbers were well choreographed, so points for making the main point of having a musical worth it. The story was a bit, which is a serious understatement, silly and shoehorned, but I guess some sad bastard had to figure out how musical numbers fit into RE lore. The acting was good for the most part, except Dan. His dead gaze will haunt me forever. And being a musical troupe, the singing was excellent. I really enjoyed the costumes too, as each was unique and interesting, without being overly silly. Except in the case of Roberto, but I think it fit his character. As much as I could figure out his character from, watching the entire thing, in a language I do not understand. However, they were clearly on a budget and didn't have as much to work with as, for example, in Resident Evil The Stage, which, just pointing this out, is an excellent stage play and you should watch it. It's probably available online somewhere. For example, I didn't even know Dan was on a plane until the person who had the Russian subtitles told me this, as they were literally just sitting on a scaffold with a whooshing sound in the background.
どうしたリノザ島上空なんだろどうして着陸しない
As opposed to Resident Evil The Stage, where at one point Chris and Pierce were driving around in a Humvee, and the entire scene was shot in CG and shown on a big screen. I guess I should also mention as an end note that this wasn't the first Resident Evil musical. The first one came in 2000 and was called Bioroid Year Zero. However, there is no footage of that online anywhere, and it's pretty much impossible to find any actual good information on this. So I didn't really have anything to compare this with, other than Resident Evil The Stage, which obviously was not a musical, it was a stage play. But I had to draw comparisons to something, especially with a long-running franchise such as Resident Evil that has had so many iterations along the years. The stage being the closest to this I have seen out of those. All in all, it was a fun experience for the 2.5 hours it took. It definitely is a good watch with a bunch of friends, and probably a pretty cool experience if you manage to catch it live. But for that, you would have to actually be in Japan, as they didn't do any international showings of this. Also, it was an official Resident Evil project, so dancing zombies are canon?